3 weeks had passed since the Battle of Broken Stars, and the galaxy would never be the same. Captain Jin-Ho Kim stood on the observation deck of the Velthic homeworld's largest space station, watching ships arrive from dozens of different species. Each vessel represented a civilization that had heard the impossible story and came to see if it was true. The story of how humanity had stopped a war by offering a third choice. Beside him, Commander Velthar watched the same scene, his expression peaceful for the first time in months. His people were safe. His civilization would survive, and it was all because a species he had never heard of decided that helping strangers was worth risking everything. "Your people are remarkable, Captain," Velthar said quietly. "We have records going back 800 years, and never has one species risked so much for another without being asked." Jin-Ho shrugged uncomfortably. He had heard similar words from dozens of alien dignitaries over the past few weeks, and he still did not know how to respond. "We just did what needed to be done. Anyone else would have done the same." "No," Velthar said firmly. "They would not have. Most species would have calculated the risks and fled, or they would have helped but demanded payment. Humanity asked for nothing except the chance to do the right thing. That is rare beyond measure." Down in the station's main hall, preparations were underway for the Galactic Summit. Representatives from 47 species had gathered to discuss the Void Reaper threat and what could be done about it. It was the largest gathering of different civilizations in recorded history, and it had happened because humanity had proven that cooperation was possible. Engineer Minji Park was in one of the station's workshops, working alongside Velthic engineers to combine human and alien technology. She held up a device that glowed with soft blue light, a hybrid energy cell that combined human fusion technology with Velthic crystal matrices. It could power a ship for twice as long as either technology could alone. "This is incredible," the Velthic engineer working with her said, her translator rendering the words in Korean. "Your people think about technology so differently from us. You make things to be practical and efficient. We make things to be beautiful and elegant. Together we can make something that is both." Minji grinned. "Wait until you see what I've got planned for weapon systems. We're going to need everything we can build if the Void Reapers are really coming." In another section of the station, Marine Commander Yuna Kang was training mixed-species combat teams. Humans worked alongside Velthic soldiers, learning each other's tactics and strengths. The Velthic were more patient and precise, while humans were faster and more adaptable. Together they covered each other's weaknesses and doubled their strengths. A young Velthic soldier approached Yuna nervously. "Commander, I wanted to thank you. During the battle, you risked your life to protect our hospital ship. My mate and children were aboard. Because of you, they survived." Yuna looked at the young soldier and saw the same mix of gratitude and determination that she had seen in human soldiers throughout history. War made everyone the same in the ways that mattered. "You don't need to thank me," Yuna said, "but you can honor it by being ready to fight when the Reapers arrive. Train hard, stay sharp, and remember that we're all on the same side now." In the station's medical bay, Dr. Hyun Lee was doing something that no human had ever done before. She was teaching alien doctors about human medical techniques while learning about Velthic biology in return. But more than that, she was studying the data from her neural link with the Cravash Queen, trying to understand the nature of the Void Reapers. What she had learned terrified her. The Void Reapers were ancient artificial intelligence constructs, built millions of years ago by a civilization that no longer existed. Their purpose was simple and horrifying: to reset the galaxy every 50,000 years, eliminating all advanced civilizations to prevent some unknown catastrophe. They were programmed to be unstoppable, and their programming had not changed in millions of years. The last time they had come, there had been no defense. Civilizations fell like grain before a scythe, but this time something was different. This time the galaxy was united. In the summit hall, Admiral Boram Choi stood at a podium before representatives of 47 species. She was a small woman, gray-haired and quiet-spoken, but when she spoke, galaxies listened. "Honored delegates," she began. 3 weeks ago, humanity encountered an alien species for the first time. We found them dying, hunted by an enemy they could not defeat. We had a choice. We could run and save ourselves, or we could stay and fight for people we had never met. We chose to fight not because it was smart or logical, but because it was right. The hall was silent. Hundreds of alien eyes watched the human admiral, waiting for her next words. Now we face a greater threat, Admiral Boram continued. The Void Reapers are coming. They will be here in less than 18 months. Alone, none of our species can stop them. Together, we might have a chance. But only if we truly work together, not as separate civilizations helping each other occasionally, but as one people with one purpose. A delegate from one of the elder species stood. Admiral, you are new to the galactic community. You do not understand how difficult such unity is. We have different languages, different values, different ways of thinking. How can we possibly fight as one? Admiral Boram smiled. By learning from each other, by trusting each other, by remembering that our differences make us stronger, not weaker. Humans are good at adaptation and quick thinking. The Velthic are brilliant strategists with advanced shield technology. The Kravash can bioform entire fleets in months instead of years. Every species here has something unique to offer. If we share that knowledge, if we combine our strengths, we become something the Reapers have never faced before. Another delegate spoke, this one from a species that looked like living crystals. And who would lead such an alliance? Every species will want to protect their own interests first. Then we need a leader who will put the survival of all before the interests of any, Admiral Boram said. I propose a rotating council of all species, with military operations coordinated by those who have proven they can win against impossible odds. The crystal delegate's form shifted in what might have been amusement. You mean humanity should lead the military efforts? I mean the Battle of Broken Stars proved that different thinking wins battles, Admiral Boram replied. Let humans handle tactics. Let the Velthic handle strategy. Let the Kravash handle production. Let every species do what they do best. That is how we win. The debate continued for hours, but the outcome was never really in doubt. The galaxy had seen what humanity could do, and more importantly, they had seen why humanity did it, not for glory or profit, but because helping others was simply the right thing to do. By the end of the summit, the Galactic Defense Initiative had been formed. 47 species committed their resources, their knowledge, and their people to the defense of all. Shipyards began producing vessels using combined technology. Training centers opened on dozens of worlds. Scientists from across the galaxy worked together to find weaknesses in the Reaper design. As Jinho stood on the observation deck watching the fleet assemble, Shilra approached him. The young Velthic officer who had sent the distress signal that started everything. Captain Jinho, she said, I wanted to thank you. If you had not come when we called, my entire species would have died that day. Jinho shook his head. We came because you had the courage to call. And you fought beside us even when you had nothing left. That took more bravery than anything we did. Perhaps we were both brave, Shilra said with a smile. Perhaps that is what the galaxy needs. Not heroes, just people willing to help. Jinho looked out at the assembled fleet, hundreds of ships from dozens of species, all preparing to face an enemy that had never been defeated. The odds were terrible. The Void Reapers had destroyed countless civilizations over millions of years. But for the first time in galactic history, the galaxy stood united. A child's voice came from nearby. A human girl, no more than 8 years old, was visiting the station with her parents. She looked up at the massive alien ships outside the viewport and asked, Will we win? Her father knelt beside her and thought for a moment before answering. We have to, sweetheart. Because that's what humans do. We never give up and we never leave people behind. The girl nodded, satisfied with this answer, and turned back to watch the ships. Jinho smiled. Out there in the dark, the Void Reapers were coming. They were ancient and powerful and had never been stopped. But they had never faced a united galaxy before. They had never faced humans who refused to accept defeat. They had never faced the combined determination of dozens of species who had learned that together, they were stronger than anything that could threaten them. The battle ahead would be the hardest anyone had ever fought. Many would die. Many would suffer. But looking at the ships assembling outside, at the people of different species working side by side, at the little girl who believed humanity would win because giving up was simply not an option, Jinho knew one thing for certain. The Void Reapers were in for the surprise of their long existence, because humanity had shown the galaxy something it had forgotten. The Kravash Queen emerged from the nebula like a nightmare-given form. It was massive beyond comprehension, its body stretching for kilometers in every direction. Weapons covered its surface like scales on a dragon, each one capable of destroying a ship with a single shot. The bioship pulsed with a terrible life, its skin shifting between colors that hurt to look at directly. Captain Jinho stared at the tactical display and felt his mouth go dry. All their victories in the past hour meant nothing if they could not stop this thing. The Queen was the heart of the swarm, the central intelligence that coordinated hundreds of bioships across light years of space. Destroy it, and the swarm would collapse into mindless drones. Fail, and everyone here would die. Admiral Borum is hailing all ships, the communications officer said. Admiral Borum's face appeared on the view screen, and Jinho could see the same calculation in her eyes that he was making in his own head. They were looking at something that could not be beaten by conventional tactics. Captains, we need a new plan, Admiral Borum said. That Queen ship is too large and too well defended for our weapons to hurt it at this range. We need to get close, strike at its core systems. Lieutenant Deho, tell me you have something. Deho's voice came through the channel, steady despite the impossible situation. There might be a way, Admiral. It's called a needle jump. We use our FTL drives to make a short-range jump directly into close range with the Queen. The drive signature would be masked by the nebula's radiation until we emerge right on top of it. There was silence on the channel. Everyone understood what Deho was suggesting, and everyone understood why it had never been done before. FTL jumps required precise calculations and clear space. Jumping into a combat zone, through a radiation-filled nebula with enemy ships everywhere, was asking for disaster. The odds of the ship surviving the jump intact were less than 1 in 4. I'll do it, Jinho said before anyone else could speak. The indomitable spirit will make the jump. We have the most experienced crew and the best targeting systems. We've got the best chance of making this work. Captain, that's suicide, Captain Yuna said flatly. Even if you survive the jump, you'll be alone against that thing with no support. Then you make sure I'm not alone for long, Jinho replied. The rest of the fleet keeps the smaller bioships busy. As soon as we hit the Queen, you push through and back us up. Simple plan. Simple, terrible plan, Minji muttered over the engineering channel. But Jinho could hear her already preparing the FTL drive for the jump. Admiral Borum looked at Jinho for a long moment, then nodded. Make it happen, Captain. The rest of us will clear you a path and be ready to support. And Jinho, come back alive. That's an order. Yes, ma'am, Jinho said, managing a small smile. I'll do my best. The channel closed and Jinho turned to his crew. They were all watching him. Fear and determination mixed in their expressions. These people had trusted him with their lives, followed him across the galaxy, and now he was asking them to jump into hell itself. I won't lie to you, Jinho said. This is the most dangerous thing any of us will ever do. If anyone wants to transfer to another ship, now's the time. I won't think less of you. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. Then Minji's voice came through the speakers, clear and certain. Captain, the FTL drive is ready. Calculations are locked in. We can jump on your order. Helm is ready, the pilot said. Weapons ready, Deho added. Medical bay standing by, Dr. Hyun reported calmly, as if preparing for a routine mission. One by one, every station on the bridge reported ready. Jinho felt something tighten in his chest, pride and fear and love for these people who had chosen to follow him into the dark. Then let's show them what humanity can do, Jinho said. All hands brace for jump. Minji, execute on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. The universe twisted. For a moment that felt like eternity, Jinho existed in a place that was not quite real, where the laws of physics bent and screamed. He could hear the ship groaning around him, metal and ceramic stressed beyond their design limits. He could hear someone screaming, or maybe that was just the sound of the drive itself. Then they were through. The indomitable spirit emerged from nothing into real space, appearing less than a kilometer from the Cravache Queen's hull. Alarms blared as the proximity sensors went crazy, the view screen filled with the sight of the massive bioship, so close that they could see individual weapon emplacements tracking toward them. All weapons, fire, Jinho shouted. The indomitable spirit unleashed everything it had. Missiles streaked toward the Queen's surface, exploding against armor that barely seemed to notice. Energy beams carved glowing lines across its hull, doing damage but not enough. The Queen began to turn, bringing more weapons to bear on the tiny ship that had appeared from nowhere. Minji, thermal lances, maximum power, Jinho ordered. Target the same spot, concentrate fire. The thermal lances hit the Queen's armor, creating rapid temperature shifts that made the organic material crack and split. Missiles followed. punching through the weakened sections. Energy beams carved deeper, reaching toward the vital systems beneath. "We're hurting it," Deho reported. "But it's still functional. And Captain, its weapons are charging. We have maybe 10 seconds before it fires." Jinho's mind raced. They needed more time, more damage. They needed something that would crack the Queen's defenses wide open. "Dr. Hyun," Jinho said suddenly, "can you establish a neural link with that thing, like we do with dolphins and whales?" There was a pause. "Theoretically, yes. But Captain, that thing's mind is huge. Linking with it could be dangerous. Do it anyway. I need to talk to it." "You want to talk to the thing that's trying to kill us?" Deho asked incredulously. "Trust me," Jinho said, though he was not entirely sure he trusted himself. "Doctor, make the connection." Dr. Hyun worked frantically. Connection establishing. "Captain, this is going to feel strange." It felt like diving into an ocean of alien thought. Jinho's consciousness touched the vast intelligence of the Cravash Queen, and for a moment he was overwhelmed by the sheer size of it. This was a mind that thought across star systems, that coordinated millions of individual bioships, that had consumed civilizations older than human recorded history. But beneath the power and the hunger, Jinho felt something unexpected. He felt fear. The Cravash Queen was running from something worse than anything Jinho had ever imagined. And suddenly he understood that this war was not what it seemed at all. "Hold fire," Jinho ordered. "Everyone hold fire. I need to understand something." Through the neural link, the Queen showed him visions. Galaxies going dark. Entire civilizations erased from existence. Ancient machines that harvested intelligent life like farmers harvesting wheat. The Void Reapers were coming, and the Cravash were trying desperately to build strength to face them, by consuming everyone else. "There has to be another way," Jinho said, speaking both to his crew and to the vast alien mind connected to his own. "We can help you. We can find a better way than this." The Queen hesitated, and in that hesitation humanity found its chance to change everything. The first Cravash bioship to die learned too late that humans did not fight like other species. It approached the indomitable spirit with confidence, its massive form blocking out the stars. The bioship was alive in a way that made human stomachs turn, its hull pulsing with veins that carried unknown fluids through kilometers of organic armor. Weapons that looked like bone spurs emerged from its surface, charging with sickly green energy. Then the human ship released something the Cravash had never seen before. Millions of tiny reflective particles exploded outward in a cloud, each one no bigger than a grain of sand. The particles scrambled the bioship's sensors, which relied on organic detection methods that could not process the chaos of reflected light and electromagnetic noise. The Cravash bioship fired blind, its weapons missing by hundreds of kilometers. The indomitable spirit did not miss. A beam of concentrated energy, powered by a fusion reactor that burned hotter than most stars, punched through the bioship's confused defenses and struck its central nerve cluster. The massive creature spasmed once and went dark, drifting lifelessly through space. "First kill confirmed," Lieutenant Deho reported, his voice tight with adrenaline. "But the rest of the swarm is adapting. They're already filtering out the chaff particles." Captain Jinho nodded. He had expected that. The intelligence report said the Cravash learned fast, their hive mind sharing knowledge instantly across all units. That was fine. Humans could adapt too, and humans had one advantage the swarm did not: imagination. "Minji, deploy the thermal lances," Jinho ordered. In the engineering bay, Minji Park grinned as she activated her favorite toy. The thermal lances were experimental weapons barely tested and definitely not approved for combat use. They worked by creating sudden and extreme temperature changes in targeted areas of space, using a combination of superheated plasma and rapid cooling fields. The effect was devastating on organic matter. 3 Cravash bioships trying to flank the human formation suddenly found themselves caught in a thermal lance spread. Their organic hulls, evolved for the stable temperatures of space, could not cope with the rapid shift from absolute zero to several thousand degrees. The bioship's outer layers cracked like eggshells, atmosphere and fluids venting into space. They were not destroyed, but they were crippled, floating helplessly while their biological systems tried desperately to repair the damage. "Excellent work, Minji," Jinho said into the comm. "Keep it up." "Captain, I've got 30 more shots before the lances overheat," Minji replied. "Make them count." Across the battlefield, the other human ships executed their own strategies. The Defiant, under Captain Yuna's command, specialized in close combat. It dove into the crevasse formation like a shark among fish, its point defense weapons destroying any bioship that got too close. The smaller, faster human fighters launched from its bay, each one piloted by a human with years of training and a personal stake in survival. Pilot Sunwoo Bei led his squadron through the chaos with reckless skill. His fighter was a tiny thing compared to the bioships, barely larger than a house, but it moved like lightning. He wove between enemy fire, his weapons carving precise lines across vulnerable spots that the tactical computers had identified. Behind him, his squadron followed in perfect formation, trusting his lead absolutely. "This is Sunwoo to all fighters," he called over the squadron channel. "Remember, these things think as one mind. That means they don't expect individual thinking. Use that, be unpredictable, be crazy, make them confused." His squadron responded with determination, breaking formation and attacking from random angles. The crevasse tried to track them but failed. The bioships were designed to fight coordinated fleet actions, not individual pilots who made split-second decisions based on instinct and training. Commander Velthar watched from his flagship, barely believing what he was seeing. The humans were outnumbered 40-1. Their ships were smaller and they had never fought the crevasse before. By all logic, they should have been overwhelmed in the first 5 minutes. Instead, they were winning. "Shilra," Velthar said to his navigation officer, "can we support them?" "Any weapons still functional?" Shilra checked her console and shook her head. "Our main weapons are depleted, Commander, but we still have maneuvering thrusters and some shield capacity. We could create obstacles for the swarm, use our mass to block their movements." "Do it," Velthar ordered. "All ships, this is Commander Velthar. These humans came across the stars to save us. We will not stand by and watch them fight alone. All vessels capable of movement form a defensive screen. Use everything we have left." The Velthic fleet, broken and battered though it was, rallied. Their shields combined into a massive energy barrier that the crevasse had to go around or through. Their ships positioned themselves to create gravitational distortions that disrupted the swarm's perfect coordination. It was not much, but it was enough to give the humans a few more seconds. A few more opportunities. Admiral Borum, coordinating the human fleet from her flagship, saw what the Velthic were doing and felt a surge of pride. Not for her own people, but for these aliens she had never met before today. They were exhausted, defeated, running on nothing but courage, and still they chose to fight. That was what bravery looked like, and it deserved to be honored. "All ships support the Velthic screen," Admiral Borum ordered. "Deho, I need target priorities. Which bioships are commanding clusters?" Lieutenant Deho's tactical genius came into full play. He had noticed that while the crevasse operated as a hive mind, certain bioships seemed to coordinate local groups. They were not queens or leaders in the traditional sense, but they were nodes in the network. If those nodes were destroyed, the nearby bioships would take precious seconds to reorganize. "Marking targets now, Admiral," Deho said, highlighting 15 bioships on the tactical display. "These are the cluster coordinators. Take them out and we fragment the swarm." "All ships, focus fire on marked targets," Admiral Borum ordered. "Precision strikes. Make every shot count." The human fleet executed the plan with deadly efficiency. One by one, the coordinator bioships died, and each death caused confusion to ripple through the crevasse ranks. The swarm's perfect coordination became disjointed chaos. Some bioships turned on each other, their targeting systems confused about who was enemy and who was ally. Others simply stopped moving, waiting for instructions that did not come. It was working. Against all odds, 7 human ships and a broken alien fleet were holding back a force that had destroyed dozens of civilizations. But the victory was not without cost. The Defiant took a direct hit to its port side, atmosphere venting from 3 decks before emergency bulkheads sealed. 8 crew members died in an instant. The Horizon lost its main engine and began drifting, unable to maneuver. The Indomitable Spirit's shields dropped to 40%, warning lights flashing across every console. Then Deho noticed something on his sensors, and his blood turned cold. "Captain, I'm detecting a new contact. It's larger than any of the other bioships, much larger. It's been hiding in the nebula, and now it's moving toward us." Jinho looked at the display and saw it, a bioship 10 times the size of the others, covered in armor that looked like it could shrug off anything they had. This was the Queen, the central mind controlling the entire swarm. "Admiral," Jinho said quietly into the command channel. "We have a problem." Captain Jinho Kim was drinking coffee in his quarters when the alert came through. The hot liquid spilled across his desk as the ship lurched into combat readiness, alarms blaring throughout the corridors of the indomitable spirit. He was on the bridge within 30 seconds, still wiping coffee from his uniform. "Report," he said, sliding into his command chair. Lieutenant Daeho Han, his tactical officer, pulled up a holographic display that filled the center of the bridge. "Sir, we picked up a mathematical signal about 6 minutes ago. It's a distress call, but not from any human colony. The patterns are alien, but the math is universal. Someone out here is in serious trouble." Jinho leaned forward, studying the display. The human deep space exploration fleet had been out here for 8 months, mapping systems that no human had ever seen before. They were scientists and explorers, not soldiers. The 7 ships under Admiral Boram Choi's command were armed, but humanity had not fought a real war in 30 years. They had no enemies, no conflicts. They had almost forgotten what it meant to face an enemy that wanted them dead. "What kind of trouble?" Jinho asked. Daeho's expression was grim. "The kind that ends civilization, sir. Long-range sensors show a massive fleet of unknown vessels being pursued by something even bigger. The pursuing force consists of approximately 300 enormous bioships. From what we can analyze, they're using organic technology fused with machine components, and they're not just chasing, they're hunting." Bioships? Jinho had never heard of such a thing. "Who are they hunting?" "Unknown species, sir. 200 vessels in the fleeing fleet, all showing signs of heavy damage. Based on their current speed and the pursuit trajectory, the hostile force will overtake them in less than 4 hours." After that, Daeho did not need to finish. Jinho's communication console lit up. "All ships, this is Admiral Boram. Senior officers report to the command channel immediately." Jinho switched to the secure channel where the commanders of all 7 human vessels waited. Admiral Boram's face appeared on his screen, her expression calm but serious. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that had seen more of space than any other living human. She had led the first mission to Alpha Centauri 40 years ago when she was just a lieutenant. Now she was about to make a decision that would define humanity's place in the galaxy. "I assume you've all seen the data," Admiral Boram said without preamble. "An unknown species is about to be wiped out by a hostile force. We are the only ones in range to do anything about it. I'm calling for a vote. Do we intervene?" There was a moment of silence on the channel. Captain Yuna of the Defiant spoke first. "Admiral, we don't know anything about these species. What if the ones being chased are the aggressors? What if we're walking into someone else's war?" "Valid concern," Admiral Boram acknowledged. But the mathematical distress call included information about the pursuing force. They're called the Cravache Swarm, and based on the data, they're not fighting a war. They're conducting an extermination. The fleeing vessels are civilian transports, hospital ships, colony carriers. This isn't a military engagement. It's a massacre. Captain Sanho of the Horizon spoke next. "We're outnumbered 40 to 1, Admiral. Our ships are explorers with weapons, not warships. If we engage, we might just be adding ourselves to the casualty list." "Possibly," Admiral Boram said. "But I didn't join the Exploration Command to stand by and watch people die when I could do something about it. We have advanced weapons, we have speed, and we have something those bioships don't have. Unpredictability. They've never fought humans before. That gives us an advantage." Jinho felt his heart pounding in his chest. He thought about his crew, about the families waiting for them back on Earth. He thought about the responsibility of command, the weight of decisions that could mean life or death for everyone who trusted him. Then he thought about what his grandfather had told him when he joined the space service. Being human means helping when you can, even when it's hard. "Especially when it's hard. I'm in," Jinho said. "The indomitable spirit stands ready to fight." One by one, the other captains agreed. Within 2 minutes, all 7 ships had committed to the rescue operation. Admiral Boram nodded, pride evident in her eyes. "Good, we do this smart and we do this together." All ships set course for the distressed fleet. Maximum speed. We've got 3.5 hours to prepare for the biggest fight humanity has ever faced. Use that time well. The channel closed and Jinho turned to his crew. They were watching him, waiting for orders, their faces showing a mix of fear and determination. "You heard the Admiral," Jinho said. "We're going to help those people. Lieutenant Daeho, I want tactical scenarios for engaging those bioships. Use every simulation we have. Find their weaknesses. Yes, sir, Deho said, already working his console. Lieutenant Minji, Jinho continued, addressing his chief engineer. I want every weapon system we have operating at maximum efficiency. If we've got any experimental tech in storage, now's the time to break it out. Engineer Minji Park, a young woman with oil-stained hands and a brilliant mind, grinned. I've got a few surprises, Captain. Some things we've been testing that aren't exactly approved for field use yet. I won't tell if you won't, Jinho said. Make it happen. As his crew rushed to their tasks, Jinho opened a channel to Dr. Hyun Lee, the ship's xenobiologist. Doctor, I need you to prepare first contact protocols. When we arrive, we're going to need to communicate with an alien species quickly and effectively. Dr. Hyun's calm voice came back immediately. Already on it, Captain. I'm pulling up every linguistic and mathematical model we have. If they understood our language enough to send a distress call, we should be able to establish basic communication. Good. Keep me updated. Jinho sat back in his command chair and watched the stars streak past as the indomitable spirit accelerated to maximum speed. Behind him, the other 6 human ships matched their pace, forming a tight formation like a spearhead aimed at the heart of darkness ahead. 3 hours and 20 minutes later, they arrived at the edge of the battlefield. The view screen showed the Velthic fleet, battered and broken, limping through space. Behind them, like a swarm of metal insects, the Kravash bioships advanced in an unstoppable wave. Open a channel, Jinho ordered. All frequencies. Channel open, sir, the communications officer reported. Jinho took a deep breath. This would be humanity's first words to another intelligent species. He wanted them to matter. Attention unknown vessels, this is Captain Jinho Kim of the Terran Exploration Command. We are humanity. We received your distress call. You are not alone anymore. Hold your position and prepare for Allied support. We're here to help, and we don't give up easily. On the view screen, the Velthic flagship's running lights flickered in what might have been surprise or hope. The Kravash swarm turned a portion of their force toward the 7 small human ships. The battle for the Velthic Commonwealth was about to begin, and humanity was ready to show the galaxy what it meant to stand against impossible odds. The stars looked cold and distant to Commander Veltar as he stared out the viewport of his dying flagship. Behind him, the bridge crew worked in silence, their faces showing the exhaustion of 3 long months running from death itself. The screens displayed what remained of his fleet, 200 vessels, each one damaged, each one struggling to keep moving forward through the darkness of space. Veltar's people, the Velthic, had ruled their corner of the galaxy for 800 years. They were explorers, artists, philosophers. They built beautiful cities that floated among the stars. They composed music that could make even stone weep. They had never wanted war. War had found them anyway. The Kravash swarm had appeared without warning 6 months ago. Nobody knew where they came from. Nobody understood why they attacked. The swarm consumed everything in its path, breaking down ships and stations and even planets into raw material to build more of themselves. They were like locusts made of living metal and flesh, controlled by a single mind that felt nothing but hunger. Commander, a young officer called out. Her name was Shilra, and she had graduated from the Navigation Academy just 3 months before the swarm arrived. She should have been charting peaceful trade routes. Instead, she was helping lead the desperate flight of her entire civilization. The rear guard reports enemy contact. The swarm is closing faster than predicted. Velthar nodded slowly. He had expected this. Their engines were failing, their fuel was nearly gone, and their weapons had been depleted weeks ago. The mathematics were simple and cruel. The swarm would catch them within 4 hours. After that, the Velthic Commonwealth would cease to exist. How many ships in this wave? Velthar asked, though he already knew the answer would not matter. 300 bioships detected, Shilra replied, her voice steady despite the fear in her eyes. Each one is the size of a small moon, Commander. Our shields are at 12% capacity. If they hit us with everything they have. She did not need to finish. Everyone on the bridge understood. 12% shields would last perhaps 5 minutes against an assault of that magnitude. Velthar had already given orders to prepare the evacuation shuttles. They could save maybe 10,000 people, mostly children, and send them toward the nearest inhabited system. It would take them 40 years to arrive, but some of his people would survive. That was all he could hope for now. Prepare for final defensive positions, Veltar ordered. All combat-capable ships will form a perimeter around the civilian vessels. We buy the shuttles as much time as we can." The crew acknowledged his orders with quiet efficiency. They were good people, brave people. They deserved better than to die in the empty dark, forgotten by a universe that had moved on without them. Velthar closed his eyes for a moment. He thought of his homeworld with its silver oceans and purple skies. He thought of his mate and their children, safe aboard one of the evacuation shuttles. He thought of all the art and music and beauty his people had created over the centuries. Soon it would all be nothing but debris floating in space, consumed by the endless hunger of the swarm. "Commander," Shillara's voice cut through his dark thoughts. "I'm detecting something unusual. Energy signatures coming from Vector 773. They're approaching at high speed." Velthar opened his eyes. "The swarm?" "No, sir. These signatures are different. They're using some kind of faster-than-light drive I've never seen before. The energy output is incredible. There are 7 contacts moving in a coordinated formation." Hope was a dangerous thing, Velthar knew. Hope could make you careless, make you believe in rescue that would never come, but he could not stop the small spark that ignited in his chest. "Can you identify them?" Shilra worked her console, her fingers moving quickly across the holographic interface. "Negative, Commander. They're not in any of our databases. The ship designs are completely unknown. They're smaller than our vessels, but the power readings suggest advanced technology. Could they be another species fleeing the swarm?" Velthar asked. "I don't think so, sir. They're heading directly toward us, not away from the swarm. And they're accelerating. Whatever those ships are, they're not running from anything." Velthar felt his hope die as quickly as it had sparked. Another species drawn by their distress, coming to watch the Velthic die, or worse, coming to scavenge what remained. He had heard stories of such things, though he had never believed his proud people would fall so far. "Should I hail them, Commander?" Shaylara asked. "No," Velthar said firmly. "We will not beg for help. If they wish to contact us, they can make the first move. Focus on the evacuation." But Shilra did not move to follow his order. She stared at her console, her expression troubled. "Commander, I could send a mathematical distress signal. Just basic patterns that any intelligent species would recognize. Not a plea for help, just information about what's happening here." "I said no, officer," Velthar replied, his voice harder now. "I will not doom another species to share our fate. The swarm will destroy anything that gets in its way. If these unknown ships are innocent explorers, I will not be responsible for their deaths." Shilra looked like she wanted to argue, but she nodded and returned to her work. Velthar turned back to the viewport, watching the distant stars. In a few hours he would join them, becoming just another ghost in the eternal night. Minutes passed in heavy silence. The bridge crew continued their preparations. The swarm drew closer with every passing second, an unstoppable tide of destruction that cared nothing for the beauty and wonder it consumed. Then Shilra spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. "Commander, I'm sorry." Velthar turned to face her. "Sorry for what?" "I sent the signal," she said, meeting his eyes without flinching. "The mathematical patterns, information about the swarm, our fleet composition, our projected survival time. I know you ordered me not to, but I couldn't just let us die without trying everything." Velthar should have been angry. As a military officer, Shilra had directly disobeyed his command. But he found he could not summon the rage. She was young, and the young always believed in miracles. "It does not matter," he said gently. "No reasonable species would risk themselves for strangers. They will change course and flee, as any sensible people would." But even as he spoke, Shillara's console began to flash with an incoming transmission. Her eyes went wide as she read the message. "Commander, they're responding. They're not fleeing. They're coming faster now. They say their name is humanity, and they say..." Her voice caught with emotion. "They say to hold on. They're coming to help us." Velthar stared at the young officer, unable to process her words. Then he looked at the viewport, where 7 small ships were racing toward them through the dark, blazing like new stars against the approaching shadow of the swarm. Perhaps miracles still existed after all.